Ciao, homie!
What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man, and as World's Strongest Man 2022 has now drawn to a close, I'd like to give you all the results and all of the detailed analysis that you come here for that you can't find anywhere else on the internet. So, World's Strongest Man group heats comprised of lots of videos I've already put out for you, so you should go check all those out first if you haven't yet. And then we'll talk about what happened in the 2 days of the 2022 World's Strongest Man Finals, starting right now with day one, breakdown of all the results of how everybody did, in addition to whether I feel they overachieved or underachieved based on historical data. So let's get started and have a look. Day one of the World's Strongest Man Finals began with the Giants Medley. So this was the NAC-sponsored box carry into a yoke, and I believe I heard it ended up being 2 box carries. And then the yoke, if you haven't checked out, I think it's on Mitchell Hooper's Instagram, you should check that out. They're these giant NAC tool closets, I guess, for lack of a better word. It looked incredible. From the few photos and videos I've seen, it did look incredible. You should do a perusal of Instagram to try to find these because it did look really, really cool. So that's what it was, box carry into a yoke. So how did everybody do? Well, let's tell you just real quick how my layout here works. Predicted would be what past historical data had predicted the points would be for this gentleman. Actual would be the points they actually got. This delta field would be the difference between the two. So green means they were right on target or above the expectation. Red would mean they're below or underachieved, right? So we can determine who overachieved and underachieved based on their historical performances in this World's Strongest Man. And then research would be their rating. So best possible rating is 100. So, for example, Athor Melstead was predicted to get 1 point based on historical data. He did, in fact, get 1 point, which was right on target for him. Didn't overachieve or underachieve. Research showed that he had a 10 rating out of 100. So not a great rating with Giants Medley type events. So kind of, stayed stable with that historical trend for him. His performance, his actual performance, was 37.61 seconds. And then they have running points and running place. So that would put him with 1 total point in 10th place after the first event. Now, running points, of course, for the first event will always equal actual points, but as we go through more and more events, this will start to add up, and you can see how many total points each athlete has as in the point that we've gone through in the contest and what place they're in. Moving on up. 9th place and 2 points went to Maxime Boudreau, so data predicted he would get 3 points. He in fact got 2, so did slightly more poorly than expected. He had a 30 rating in these type events and did the event in 34.11 seconds. 8th place in the Giants Medley went to Gabriel Rayom, so he got 3 points here. Gabriel was expected to get 5 points, got 3 instead, so a little bit lesser of a performance than we were expecting. Gabriel's rating a very respectable 63.97, so we did expect a little bit better from him, but 3 points for Gabriel Rayom with a run of 33.87 seconds. Trey Mitchell, we expected to get 2 points here, outperformed that data by a little bit, so ended up with 4 points, a 32.54 second run for Trey, and currently in 7th place overall. Brian Shaw, who we expected to come away with 4 points here, in fact comes away with 5, so very slightly outperforms data expectations. His rating was 60.71 coming into this, and he does the run in 30.78 seconds. Martins Lietzi is who the data expected to win this event. In fact, underperforms by quite a bit, coming in with 6 points here, so a slower start than expected for Martins Lietzi's. The research was a perfect 100 for him in these type of events, so a little bit surprising. Does the run in 30.6 seconds, and that gives him 6 points and places him currently in 5th place overall. 6 points expected for Luke Stoltman. He actually comes away with 7, so does outperform the data by a little bit. Research on him was a very, very good 74.29 rating in Giants Medley type events. He did the run in a very fast 28.72 seconds. Again, good enough for 7 points and putting him currently in 4th place overall. 9 points expected for Alexei Novikov, who comes away actually with 8 points here, so very slightly under expectation, but still a very good points total. Research gave him an unbelievable 90 rating in these type events. He does the run in 24.84 seconds, good enough to get him into 3rd place overall. Tom Stoltman, predicted to get 8 points here, actually gets 9, so outperforms the data by a little bit, which he's been doing all contests long. Research on him was a very, very good 80 rating. He does the run in 24.75 seconds. Again, good enough for 9 points, and second place overall for Tom Stoltman. So then Mitchell Hooper predicted to get 7 points here, and Mitchell Hooper actually comes away winning the Giants medley with 10 points, outperforms the data by quite a bit there. Research on him was 75. Again, that's more gym lift type related. There wasn't a lot of contest data for him, but a very fast run, 21.96 seconds for Mitchell Hooper. Again, good enough for 10 points and first place overall. So that being said, that's how the Giants medley shook out at World's Strongest Man 2022. Let's have a look at the second event, the deadlift for reps. So the second event at World's Strongest Man was the deadlift for reps, and it was a little bit different from what actually I had envisioned and maybe some others. I thought it would be a traditional 9-inch bar deadlift out in front of you. It was in fact a car deadlift, but most car deadlifts I've seen are neutral grip. It had the neutral grips on the apparatus, but a bar, strung across it, where you're still grabbing the bar like a traditional deadlift out in front of you. So it was kind of a combination car deadlift, traditional deadlift, where you're lifting it like a traditional deadlift, but the weight's out behind you. And what I had heard is the weight in hand was something shy of 800 pounds, 790 some odd pounds. So we were expecting some pretty high reps, and we'll see what happened. Athor Melstead predicted to come away with 2 points, comes away with splitting it 1.5, very, very close to what the data had predicted for him with his 30 rating. He did 8 reps, so imagine the person in 10th place here in this event still did 8 reps, so the reps are going to be pretty high. Running points for Athor Melstead, so this is where it becomes interesting. So he got 1.5 points here, and he had 1 on the first event, so running points will be an interesting column for you to look at here. 2.5 points, and running in 10th place now overall. Gabriel Rayom expected to get 4 points, split that 1.5 points with Athor Melstead. He had a really high deadlift rating, 63.73, especially given what he did in the group stages, but this a very different type of deadlift. 8 reps for Gabriel as well. Now 4.5 points total for him in 9th place overall. We then have Luke Stoltman, who came in 8th here. 3 points expected for him, 3 points gathered, so right on target for Luke with a 47.5 deadlift rating. 9 reps is what he did, so he has 10 points overall and 7th place overall. Now again, you can see 10, 9, 8th place in deadlift, 7th place overall. So that's what this number, that's the extra information this number gives you. Next up on our list is Maxime Boudreau. So Maxime Boudreau was expected to come in last year in the deadlift with 1 point, outperforms that by quite a bit, 4 points for Maxime. Research on him was a 10 rating out of 100, so it has been improving for sure. Bangs out 10 reps on this car deadlift. 6 points overall for Maxime, now in 8th place overall after gathering 4 points on this event. Next up on the list, as we work our way up to the better and better performers on the deadlift, Brian Shaw predicted to do 7.5 points here, did 6, so did underperform by a little bit. Research on him was 85 on deadlift for reps, but again, this was a little bit of a different setup. 12 reps though. Like I said, 12 reps sounds like a lot, but not in this field. Running points for Brian, 11 points overall now after 2 events, and that has him in 6th place overall. Next up on our list is Martins Litsius, who was predicted to split 9.5 points at the top of the leaderboard. In fact, splits 6 points with Brian Shaw, and I think there's actually someone else here who had the same rating as well, same points as well. So Martins Litsius underperforms for the second event in a row by a substantial margin here. He had a 92 rating going into this in deadlift for reps. He puts out 12 reps as well. And now 12 points overall for Martins, 5th place overall, as you can see here. Moving on up the list with our better and better performers, Mitch Hooper also split that 6 points. Also was predicted to split the 9.5 points, so both men kind of predicted and end up in similar places. Mitch underperforms quite a bit there as well, but that's only because of who you'll see that actually wins this event and the other worldly feat that was done. So you couldn't really... Well, I'll let the cat out of the bag. After you saw Novikov perform, nobody was going to beat that. So it was just unbelievable. 12 reps for Mitch, 16 points overall. He's on podium pace right here, so in 3rd position after 2 events. Trey Mitchell, who we expected to get 7.5 points on this, in fact, comes away with 8.5, outperforms expectations from the data. He had an 85 rating, so very, very high rating on this type of event. 13 reps for Trey, 12.5 points overall, and 4th place overall. Tom Stoltman, who we expected to come away with 5.5 points, again continues to outperform the data in every facet of World's Strongest Man 2022. In fact, it's going to dramatically change expectations for World's Strongest Men contest going forward. So 8.5 points for Tom Stoltman, very near the top of the board there. His rating was 65. And as you can see, like, Tom's rating 65, Trey 85. So Trey should have outperformed him by quite a bit. And in fact, they end up splitting the same points. So Tom really, really on the uptick on a lot of these events. 13 reps for Tom Stoltman, 17.5 points overall, and now has put himself in second place overall in the contest. And then the winner, Alexei Novikov. So Alexei Novikov, we had predicted 5.5 points on this. In fact, comes away and wins it. So a win for Alexei Novikov, 10 points. He had a 65.65 rating, so he and Tom Stoltman rated very similar to each other. Alexei ends up winning the event with an unbelievable 15 reps. There's pictures on Instagram. You can see blood pouring from the nose. Just gave everything he had to try to win this. 18 points overall, and currently in first place after 2 events, Alexei Novikov. So interestingly enough, Alexei Novikov first in this event and first overall at this point. Tom Stoltman second in this event and second overall at this point as well. Then Trey Mitchell third in this event, but fourth overall, and Mitchell Hooper fourth in this event, but third overall. So kind of the guys who were doing well overall were near the top of this event as well. So that's how the car deadlift for reps shook out at World's Strongest Man 2022. So let's have a look at event number 3, the Flintstone Lift. So the Flintstone Lift is a standard 1-inch bar, weightlifting bar with, they look like stones. They're probably cast out of concrete would be my guess, but they look like you're lifting in the Flintstones times. And basically the bar is laid on 2 blocks around chest height. The athlete dips themselves underneath it and can either put it rested on their traps and shoulders and press it from behind the neck, or rest it on their clavicle and press from in front of the neck. Their choice, doesn't matter which way. And then the technique of pressing it up, whether it's a strict press, a push press, a split jerk, a push jerk, doesn't matter. Like, I think all that was allowed. So it's really interesting because I think I've heard this event has been missing from World's Strongest Man for about 25 years. So super interesting to see it come back. Some of the guys, Alexei Novikov, Luke Stoltman, there's pictures online of them doing them, and it's really, really cool to watch. So here's how it all shook out. Gabriel Rayom expected to pick up 2 points here, picked up 1.5, so almost right on target there. Research showed him with a 28.24 rating. He was able to get the opening weight of 190 kilograms, so that was the opener, and I believe everybody got the opener, actually. So that puts Gabriel Rayom with a total of 6 points in the contest so far, in 9th place overall, even though he was 10th place in this event. Aithor Melstead splits that 1.5 points. We had predicted him to get 1, so both guys, you know, a little bit off. Aithor outperforms very, very slightly, and Gabriel underperforms very, very slightly, but right around where we expected. Aithor with a 25 rating, again, got that opener, and that's it. The 190 kilogram, and that's it. I believe they went up to 200 after that. So Aithor, 4 points overall, 10th place overall. Next up, we had Mitch Hooper, who Data had expected, or I had expected by lack of data, to win this event. In fact, comes away with only 3 points, so badly underperforms what my expectations were. His expectations probably way more on target because he knows what he can do. 200 kilograms, so he got the opener at 190, and he got the next weight at 200. It's just a lot of the guys here lifted a lot of surprising weights, so we'll see what happens here. But again, Mitchell Hooper still 19 points overall and still in 4th place overall, even with getting 8th place in this event. Maxime Boudreau, who we expected to come away with 3 points, outperforms that, overachieves, 5.5 points for Maxime. He had a 36.67 pressing rating coming into this, and he gets the 3rd highest weight. So he got 190, he got 200, and he got 212 kilograms. Good enough for 11.5 points overall now, and 8th place overall. Luke Stoltman, the next best presser in this event, predicted to do 5 points, did 5.5, so very slightly outperforms data expectations. He had a 56.14 rating, and he also completed the 212 kilogram lift, of course, in addition to the 2 that come before that. Running points for Luke, 15.5, placing him in 7th place overall. Trey Mitchell, who I expected to come away with 9 points here, in fact, comes away with 5.5, so underachieves a bit, but again, that's really like deceptive because Trey was manhandling 200 kilograms. I heard like it was very easy, and then he got the 212, and then guys just did more. It's not that he did poorly; he did very, very well. It's just some other guys did some surprising weights, and we'll get to those in a moment. So 86.72 rating is what Trey came into this with. I think he's still considered a monster presser. 18 points overall for him, and 5th place overall in the contest now. The next best presser would have been Brian Shaw. Brian actually tied with Trey on that 5.5 points, 212 kilograms for Brian as well. We were expecting 4 points out of Brian, so he outperforms the data by just a little bit. And 16.5 points overall, placing Brian Shaw in 6th place now after these first 3 events. Martins Licis predicted 6 points here. He does better. He comes away with 8 points, and Martins one of the 3 last men in contention at the very end of this with Alexei Novikov and Tom Stoltman. So Maxime overachieves the data here. His rating coming in was 73.41, which is a great rating. And he actually is able to do, look at this jump. So there was 212 kilograms, there was 220 kilograms, I think 226, and he did 235 kilograms, did Martins Licis, so that was good enough for 8 points. Now 20 points overall for him, and currently in podium position, 3rd place. Tom Stoltman, the aforementioned Tom Stoltman, does even better, 240 kilograms for him. Imagine how much weight this is. This is crazy. So Tom Stoltman, we expected to do very well, 7.5 points, but he does even better, overachieves, again, 9 points. He had an 82.05 rating coming in, which is what created this expectation of 7.5 points, but Tom just continues to overachieve on everything at this World's Strongest Man 2022. 26.5 total points for him, and still in 2nd place overall. And then we have Alexei Novikov, who we had predicted also to split that 7.5 points with Tom Stoltman. Instead, Alexei goes ahead and wins this event. So that's his 2nd win in the finals already out of 3 events. Unbelievable. Overachieves on this event by a considerable margin. 82.05, a very identical rating to Tom Stoltman coming in on overhead presses of this nature. And Alexei does 246 kilograms. It's unbelievable. It's on Instagram. Go find it. If it's not on the World's Strongest Man Instagram, which I think it is, it might be on Alexei's himself, but you'll find it there. It's a great, great lift. Unbelievable, and he was super excited. So after first 3 events, 28 points for Alexei Novikov, enough to have him in 1st place overall. So that's how day 1 at the World's Strongest Man Finals shook out, and these are your overall placings. Alexei Novikov leading the pack, Tom Stoltman 2, Martins Licis 3, and if we scroll down, Mitchell Hooper 4, and Trey Mitchell 5. So those are your top 5. And then they're closely followed by Brian Shaw 6th overall, Luke Stoltman 7, Maxime Boudreau 8, Gabriel Rayom 9, and Athor Melstead 10. I'll come back with another video recapping the final day of World's Strongest Man, day 2, and we'll talk about who won and the podium finishers, and I'll give you the detailed analysis like this of overachievers, underachievers, and then we'll talk about who overachieved and underachieved the most in the contest as a whole. So thanks again for joining me in my blog, Strongest Man. And of course, until next time, as always, ciao, homie.